So it's been over 2 years since Dodge announced the 2023 Special Edition Challengers and Chargers. And if you remember, if you've been following the channel for a while, you remember me telling everybody not to fall for it. These were sticker cars, and they were going to be marked up by the dealerships. And I lambasted Dodge about these things, despite the fact that I actually bought one. So I did not pay a markup, but so many people did. And I saw them marked up at extremely crazy prices. But today now, over 2 years later, we get to look and see how did these people fare who paid these enormous markups. How much are these special edition cars going for today? Almost 2 years, a little over 2 years later since announced, just about 2 years, a little bit shorter, maybe a year and a half, year and 3/4 since they actually started getting delivered to dealerships and dealers started to have their way with people. So first things first, forgive me, my voice has been shot. I got that flu. It's been a crazy year. I think it's 2 or 3 times this last 6 months. So bear with me as I crack my voice through this. But let's go do a quick review and show you what I'm talking about here with these last call cars, the last call special edition cars. And while I'm flipping screens, I do want to acknowledge the fact before somebody jumps in the comment section who's impatient and says, but you bought one, you bought the Swinger, and yes, I did. I did not pay a markup. I did overpay in paying MSRP, and I still love the car, and I don't have any major regrets. I still think I could have waited a little longer and ground them out of some money, but in the end, I just put new tires on it, got the oils changed, and I am enjoying the daylights out of that car. But so many people paid so much more for the special edition cars, the sticker cars as we called them back then, and I wanted to go through them today. And the first one we'll talk about is the Black Ghost. The Black Ghost was essentially a red-eye wide body with some stickers, some different badging, and a vinyl, well, let's just call it a wrap top to look like gator skin or something, and crocodile skin or whatever it was. And it was an homage to the old, 1970 or whatever, the Black Ghost, which there was a lot of controversy about the story. But setting that aside, the bottom line is this was a spectacularly beautiful car. And I don't think any of us can argue that we wouldn't love to have that. Given the opportunity to own that car at MSRP or even below, I think we would have bought it. Many of us would have bought that car. I would have bought that car. But for the ridiculous $100,000 markups that most of these had on them, it's astonishing based on those markups how much money people lost. With that said, I'm going to show you the comps on these things, what's going on in the market. This may be the only one, even doing maybe better than the Demon 170, that's holding a little bit stronger because there were only, I think it was 300 of these things made, albeit they were not numbered cars, but they were pretty beautiful special cars. And then I'll jump around here a little bit. There was the shakedown on this page. The shakedown, remember that? I did a video. I think everyone went along with me on this one, that this was nothing more than a shakedown for our money. Now, they came out with this thing in a couple versions, in the gray and as the Destroyer gray, as well as the Smoke Show, I can't remember which one it was, in the black with the stripes and a manual transmission, which was something that definitely people wanted. And then there was a Swinger Special Edition, which I ended up buying, which they came out in the Charger, and the Challenger. Shakedown was only the Challengers. And let's go look at what the other ones were. We may have to bounce around a little bit here. Then you had the King Daytona, which was probably would have been a hard choice for me between the King Daytona and the Black Ghost, because I do love both body styles. To get the King Daytona, hood pins on a Charger, this whole makeup looked beautiful. Love Go Mango. This thing's spectacular. And these things were going for upwards of $200,000, $100,000 markups at their height. And I'm sure somebody paid more if you go back and look at the auctions, and way overpaid. And these things were also limited to, I think it was just like 300 of these things. And these were the, again, the Hellcat Red Eyes, yet with the 807 horsepower. So these were $100,000 over all day long. And I remember watching people buying them and putting them on YouTube and putting them in their garage and wrapping them in plastic and planning on how rich they're going to get owning these things. So there are videos. You can go pull them up. And then we had the Super Bee. Super Bee is a special car. It's kind of like the 1320 in a Charger, and it came in a narrow body and a standard body, and a wide body in purple and blue. They came with just the drag radials, and this is the drag suspension and stuff. This car was one of my favorites at the time, and certainly one that, if it wasn't for my wife who hates purple, I would probably bring one home. But every man has his limitations that he's willing to go to, and mine kind of ends with picking that fight with her. So I ended up getting the green one, the Swinger. And then you have the Mopar edition, which was kind of an afterthought. They came out afterwards. I think, what was this? In July of 2023. This was an afterthought. So they had already come out in like mid-year 2022 to late 2022 and told everybody about the other special editions. And then, boom, they came out. Here's another special edition. Now, these things were numbered, and some of us were thinking, well, numbering helps them. And the dealers definitely hoarded these things. But at that point, a lot of the cars had slowed in selling because the dealers had overcharged. So these things were not moving as fast. And even the dealership that I work with was calling me saying, I can't get rid of it. I did a video on the thing and it just wasn't going. And despite asking a $10,000 or $15,000 markup, I think they finally sold it for MSRP in the end. And it's a great car, no question, gorgeous car. And it was definitely limited to only 200 of the Challengers and 200 of the Chargers. So, this is limited edition. And of course, my Swinger, which I'll put on the screen right now, that came in a Challenger and Charger in the Sublime Green, as well as the white and the F8 green. So now let's go look at pricing. And I may bounce around a little bit. Let's talk about the Black Ghost first. So the Black Ghost, you can get one right now. 0 miles, $100,000. $100,000, which was MSRP at the time, I believe. There's one for $179, $195, $157, $129, $139. And by the way, 75 miles at Tobin for $129. That dealership was known for incredibly crazy markups. So now if you want it, $129, and I imagine you can go there and make them an offer and maybe even get them down to MSRP. $139, another one, wrong photo, but it's a Black Ghost for a sticker, MSRP, $284. That's all of them I could find here, but certainly you can search the internet, and I just found the low-hanging fruit that I can dig up. Now, I would say these, you never know when you show up at the dealerships if these $100,000 versions are actually marked up or not, or going to be marked up. So, sometimes they advertise them at this price. By the time you call them, the price changes, but with the majority of them that I've been able to find being priced higher, I got to think, even though I still think paying over MSRP is insane, most of these that I've seen, as well as on eBay, are tracking at higher asking prices. So I don't know what the sales prices are, but their asking prices are still holding, but that doesn't mean much. I mean, it's what you can get the seller to take for the car. Now let's go back and look at the King Daytonas. King Daytonas are similar, definitely a little bit different story. 165, 119. But let's look over here. 139, 119, 103 with 2,500 miles, 92,000 with 10,000 miles, 98,000 with 1,000 miles, 87,999 with 12,000 miles. Folks, any miles on these things, as I said in my prior videos over the last couple of years, will just crush the values of them. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the ones hermetically sealed in the garages are going to sell for $185,000. I still think it's way too early, and these people are fishing in the dark for some big dummy to come buy them. But here's one for 51 miles at $114,000. I got to imagine this guy's probably willing to take an offer. Now, he bought it speculating, and as I said before, these people sat on him in hopes that the prices went to the moon, and it's not happening. So why not turn this chunk of metal into cash and sell it to somebody if you can, and just get out with your tax and license, probably is what they're trying to do. 112,000 with 84 miles, 119,000, 100,000, 144, 124, 100,000. So based on the lowest priced versions with some miles, I would not buy one with no miles expecting it's going to go up in value. And if you buy it expecting to drive the car, expect that you're going to land here. And those of you who want to write in my comments, oh no, it's going to go up in value in 5 years or 6 years or 10 years, you're absolutely wrong, especially if Dodge starts bringing back V8s and starts bringing back insane cars, which I believe is likely to happen at some point, in which case these things are going to torpedo down in value. And I'm telling you, the stickers don't matter. Consider this no different than a red eye once it has any miles on it. And as a special edition, they're banking on somebody falling for the it's going to go up in value dance, which is a scam in my opinion. And by the way, I do want to address that if I use this in the thumbnail especially, is I believe this was a scam by dealers who were telling people these things are going to go up in value. It's just for us to reference the definition, which we all know already, is a dishonest scheme, a fraud. So I believe when dealers told people these are investments, these are appreciating assets, that they were saying it with extreme confidence. They weren't saying they could be, they might be. Most of them that I spoke with on video were saying, in my old videos, you can look them up, were saying these are investments. They're going to go up in value. They're never going to bring these things back again. You should buy it. It's going to be a great investment. I believe that immediately qualifies these huge overpriced sticker cars as scams, but not from the manufacturer, more from the dealers who told people the ridiculous stories about them going up in value. So I think you all would agree if you paid $100,000 over, meaning close to $200,000 for a King Daytona, that you have lost your money forever, unless you're willing to wait 20, 30 years and keep it at, delivery miles, then maybe someone will want to buy that thing. But it's going to take decades, not just years, decades to get there. Here's the shakedown. Now, this one was definitely a shakedown because dealers are asking $25,000 to $50,000 over. If you wanted to put an order in, which you couldn't order these were going to be delivered to the dealerships. So when I say this, someone's going to correct me, but dealers were taking deposits, while call them orders, saying when it comes in, you will be the buyer for the car. It wasn't ordered, but it was definitely ordered because the dealers took the order and said, when it comes in, since I'm getting one, I will sell it to you for $50,000 over. And there are people out there that paid $50,000 over for these shakedowns. And today, one with 12 miles, still sitting on the lot from 2023, mid-2023, when these things were showing up, still sitting there while we're sitting in first quarter of 2025, and they're asking $64,300. There is a reason, and this is it, why it's not sold. $58,999. And by the way, these were standard body, shakers, the hood pins, gorgeous cars, but $58,999 is still way too much money. Here's one with 714 miles for $49,872. Another $67,000, $45,900. Pay attention to that. 16,000 miles, $45,900. $61,000 for the wide body with 143 miles, $61,000. People paid $100,000 for these things to get them. $48,000. Here's a wide body with 8,800 miles. If you paid $100,000 on this thing, let's say a year and a half ago, you are royally screwed, especially if you financed it. $54,000, $68,000, $51,000, $47,900, 8,000 miles. Another one here, 39. Look at this, with 15,000 miles, 39,900. So I don't want to belabor the point, but if you look at these prices, nobody made money on these cars. These cars did not go up in value. People lost their ever-loving ass on these cars, and there's a bunch of them for sale, and dealers are still sitting around. Some dealers are sitting around hoping these things jump in value. Now here's the Super Bs. Super Bs, the one that I thought had a chance because it's a pretty unique car. Super Bs, I thought would maybe have a chance, but 8,700 miles for a standard body. I saw this car in person. This was one that was, I believe, stolen and brought back from the dealership. Somebody did fraud and brought it back, and wheels are all curbed and everything else. But bottom line, 8,700 miles for $52,000. I can tell you after talking to them, make them an offer. So this one's $60,000. No one in their right mind is going to pay $60,000 for this car. But all the markups are gone, as you can see now. All the markups are gone. And let's go find some of the plum crazy versions. 55,900, 5,800 miles. These have not gone up in value. And these, I believe, are pretty special cars. They're dreaming at 70,000. They're hoping for a dummy to show up. 69,000. Those are MSRP sticker cars. 70 grand, 70 grand. So bottom line is, these things are actually, if they're used, are worth in the low 50s at the very, very most. So probably like this, 55.9, 5,893 miles. That's probably a pretty fair price, and you could probably get a few $1,000s off of it. Now, what about the Swinger? The Swinger, here's my story, folks. I paid, I believe it was right in the $67,000 range, which was just utterly insane. I thought I was smart, not paying a markup. I wanted the car. My wife wanted me to get the car. At least I didn't pay $117,000, which there was one here in SoCal that was up for $117,000, and someone who probably got them down to $100,000 thought they got a really good deal. So here's a bunch of F8 green ones, $50,000. This is indicative of what I could probably get for my car, which is in the $50,000 range. I would say even worse than that, because I have more miles on mine. So I'm probably in the 40s. So with 2,300 miles on it. $49,000, 7,600 miles. 46.9. There you go. There's a Swinger. 11,000 miles. Imagine that. Imagine that. So here's one still holding on to the big price. Delivery miles, 96,900. This car is going to sit there forever, and it's actually been registered. It says it's used. Maybe it's new, but it's LRA Enterprises. Tells me it's probably used, meaning the warranty's already started, so they're burning through that warranty. There's one, 48,950, 51,000. So you get the gist here. These are $50,000 cars as wide bodies, maybe 55 with really low miles at the very most. Nobody made money on those cars. Here is a Mopar edition, the numbered cars. Here's one on Bring a Trailer, and this went not too long ago for January 14th, just a few weeks ago, $62,500. I believe it had delivery miles. It was 13 miles, brand new. And yes, there were, fees, I'm sure, involved with this, but the buyer paid that for this car. So bottom line is I don't think that with any miles is worth any more than that $60,000, and people paid $50,000 markups for these things, which is utterly insane. And I just wanted to say, hey, look, I didn't have a crystal ball back then. I just had common sense. And based on these comps, here is the future video I promised I would make a few years later to see what happened. Were they right? Were they wrong? Now, some of them are going to say, it's just going to take a little more time and they're going to go up in value, Brad. It's just going to take a little more time. One guy said, if you own a Demon 170, 5 years from now, it's going to be worth 5 times its MSRP value, meaning $500,000. Literally no car. I don't think any car has gone up 5 times. Even exotics haven't gone up 5 times, maybe doubled, Koenigsegg or something, but it never happened. So I'm not saying this to gloat on everybody who overpaid, but more to tell you all, listen, if you want a special edition car now, go find it. All it is stickers. I bought mine because I love Sublime Green, and I wanted to stick a manual, and I wanted a shaker, and I wanted a wide body. To get all those things in one car meant the special edition was the way to do it. And it's got the cool colored wheels and the shaker hood, the right color, and I added the hood pins, even though I should have came with them. And bottom line is, I love the car. I paid down the car a lot at this point, and I've really had fun with it. But had I paid $117,000 or $96,000 or $90,000, $75,000, $80,000 for these things, this thing, I would be furious right now. It is absolutely not a collector's item unless you can wait several decades. So with that, everybody, please like, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.